Hi, I'm Angela Lussier with the UMass Amherst Alumni Association, and I'm here today with Dr. Mary Sano, and I'm going to ask her a couple questions about her work. Part of your research has included the economic impact of dementia in the workplace. Can you tell us what you've learned?
Well, actually, Alzheimer's disease is considered one of the most expensive diseases in the United States. There's a belief that this year, in the year 2012, it'll cost us over $200 billion to care for patients with Alzheimer's disease. But there's many different places that expense comes from. It can come from family members who have to lose work time to take care of a person who has dementia, who has memory loss and dementia. It can come from the cost of taking care of someone in their home, and it includes what we call indirect costs. Those are the costs that we don't actually put a dollar amount on, but the number of hours that people actually spend accompanying someone or just taking care of them. Often it's family members and friends. And then there's a new expense that we're aware of, and that is that if we're able to detect the disease very early, a person may have just mild memory problems, but it really impedes their ability to do their work because we're seeing people working older. And also it can impair their ability to do volunteer work, which often has important value, maybe babysitting for grandchildren or that type of thing. So it has expenses and costs in many areas.
Yeah. With the economic downturn and millions of people being laid off from their job, restructuring going on in different companies, it may be adding to the stress level in the workplace. How can professionals decipher between early onset dementia and just mental fatigue? Are there telltale signs?
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that Alzheimer's disease doesn't typically strike that young, and so oftentimes people in their early 60s may be very worried, but in fact it's very low incidence in that age group. Nonetheless, it is a concern, and people's cognitive health is very important to them. Several things that make a difference is determining if they can identify the stressor and reduce it. And if that actually improves function, we have some impression that the problems may be associated with the stressor and not with a deteriorating memory problem. Two questions I always tell people to ask themselves is their memory and thinking worse than other people their own age, as opposed to comparing themselves to someone much younger? And is it really worse than it was a year ago? Can they notice changes that occurred a year ago? And those are two helpful questions. If the answer is no to those two, we have a good feeling that maybe it's not a degenerative disease.
Are there particular activities where it may be more obvious, or is it different for each person?
Well, one aspect of aging is that multitasking isn't as efficient as it is for the young. So, in fact, a task or a job that can't be adapted to sort of minimize the stream of incoming information might make it more difficult. However, the advantage of an older person might be that they have more experience and know which things can be given a secondary order and where they need to focus their attention. So it's a balancing act. A lot of times knowledge can be helpful. We do know that the speed of processing slows a little bit with age, just the way all of our physical capacities slow a little bit with age.
If one of our viewers feels that he or she may have signs of dementia, what are some good next steps or resources available?
Right. Well, if a person's really concerned, it's really important to consult your physician. The physician may start by asking those very same questions. Are you feeling as though it's different than it was a year ago? And are you feeling as though you're having more problems than people your own age? The physician will then decide whether or not to it needs a further evaluation. And I think that our concern is significant now, and so very often people will find their physician will ask them on an annual basis. When they come in a year later, they'll ask again.
Oh, okay. So there's already kind of a method in place for...
Right, I think that people are becoming aware that memory problems and cognitive problems really do worry people as they get older, and they try to take a close observation. So.
Last question, your UMass experience, thinking back to when you were here, what would you say was the #1 thing that really helped you in your career?
Well, the UMass experience is so incredible because you have the opportunity to do so many different things. And I realized that I had an opportunity to work in an area that I probably didn't even realize existed when I first came to school here. The opportunity to work with researchers right here on the campus gives you a real head start when you're heading out looking for your first job. The independence that it offers to students is another really strong asset that they have. I think the advantage too is the public institution spirit really allows us to get a great education with minimal debt in the end, and that's a great way to start life.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Sure. My pleasure.